Game of Thrones spent 8 seasons asking one question: who deserves the Iron Throne? And then, it gave the answer to the one person who said he could never rule. Millions of fans called it the worst ending in television history. But what if they were arguing about the wrong thing? Because after going through every piece of evidence, I don't think the real problem was Bran. I think the real problem was the case made for him. Welcome to the Westeros verdict. The question: here's the official charge. Bran Stark held absolute power over 6 kingdoms, with no military record, no political experience, and barely a season's worth of screen time before the crown landed in his lap. But before we accuse Bran of being the wrong king, we need to answer one question first. Not was Bran a good character. Not even was the show rushed. Just this: on the actual evidence, on what we watched him say and do, did he earn it? Hold that question, because the first exhibit is about to make it a lot more complicated than it sounds. Exhibit A starts with something Bran said himself, and it's a contradiction almost nobody rewatches closely enough to catch. In Season 7, he told Tyrion directly that he wasn't really Bran Stark anymore, that he couldn't be Lord of anything because the three-eyed raven doesn't hold titles. The moment Tyrion floated his name for king, that objection vanished completely. No hesitation, no reminder of what he'd said 1 season earlier. Just acceptance. Exhibit B is the Battle of Winterfell. Bran can warg into birds and get a real-time view of the entire battlefield. Intelligence that could have repositioned troops or flagged the enemy's position before it was too late. Instead, he sits in the Godswood as bait and does almost nothing with the single most useful power in the entire show. If you're holding the most valuable weapon at the table and you never once use it, that's not restraint. That's a resume with a hole in it. This next detail completely changes the case. Exhibit C is what he actually does once he has the job. His first act as king isn't justice for the ashes still smoking in King's Landing. It's complaining that his council is missing a spy master, a lawmaker, and a head of the military, in that order, and then standing up to go hunt the one loose dragon that could still challenge his throne. Rebuilding the capital can wait. Dragon can't. And then something happened that shouldn't have been possible. Exhibit D is the council that crowned him in the first place. More than a third of the people voting for Bran are directly related to him by blood. Entire regions, the Crown Lands, Dorne, the Iron Islands, barely get a seat. In a kingdom that just fought an entire war over the danger of unearned birthright, the council's actual solution was a family deciding among themselves who gets the house, and the justification they used to dress it up wasn't best ruler. It was best story, a line about narrative, not governance, dressed up to sound like one. And the audience noticed the gap in real time. A poll taken right after the finale found close to half of viewers walked away describing themselves as disappointed. And Bran's coronation, specifically, was one of the most cited reasons why. That doesn't prove he was the wrong choice. It proves whatever case the show was making for him didn't land for nearly half the room watching it happen. If you were sitting on that council, hearing only what we've just covered, would you have voted for Bran? Hold on to your answer, because the strongest argument for Bran hasn't even appeared yet. To be fair, the defense has a real case here, and it deserves more than a straw man. Bran is genuinely the only person at that table with clean hands. He never burned a city, he never sacked a castle, he never inherited the Targaryen madness or the Lannister cruelty. Every other candidate for that throne got there by winning a war. Bran got there by surviving one, without ever picking up a sword. There's also the memory argument, and it's a strong one. Bran holds the entire recorded history of Westeros in his head. Every betrayal, every famine, every war that started over a slight that never needed to become a war. No king in this show's history has ever ruled with that much information available to him. Think about how many wars in this story started because 2 people simply didn't know what the other one actually wanted. Bran, theoretically, never has that problem again. And it's worth noting the council wasn't unanimous out of laziness. Sansa Stark, who has personally survived nearly every kind of bad ruler Westeros can produce, from Joffrey's cruelty to Ramsay's torture, is the one who tells Bran she knows he'll be a good king. If anyone in Westeros has earned the right to be skeptical of powerful men making promises, it's her. She still wasn't. But here's the part that might actually flip your verdict completely. and it comes from outside the show entirely. George R.R. Martin has spent years openly criticizing fantasy's oldest assumption, that putting a good man on the throne automatically fixes the kingdom. He's pointed out that nobody ever asks what Aragorn's tax policy was, or how he fed his people during a famine. Just being decent was never supposed to be enough in this universe. So putting the most informed, least power-hungry person available on the throne is, at minimum, consistent with the actual argument Martin has been making for years. The defense isn't just sentimental, it's thematically correct. And just when you think you've got this case figured out, there's one detail almost nobody factors in. It doesn't come from the show. It comes from the books, and it changes what Bran might even mean by the end of this. The being who trained him, the three-eyed raven who hands him this entire inheritance, has a real identity the show barely touches. He's heavily implied to be Brynden Rivers, also known as Bloodraven, a Targaryen bastard, a former royal spy master, and the single most feared sorcerer in the history of Westeros, once described as having 1,000 eyes and one. That's not creepy old man in a tree. That's one of the most dangerous political operators the books have ever introduced. And Bran inherited his exact powers in the exact same cave through the exact same kind of slow transformation. Now, this part is a fan theory, clearly labeled as one, not confirmed anywhere. A meaningful chunk of the fan theory community believes becoming the three-eyed raven doesn't just give Bran power. It costs him Bran. Whether you believe that theory or not, it proves one thing. Bran's ending is still being debated years later. So here's where this case file lands, and it's not the answer either side wants. Bran didn't win this throne. He was the last name left standing after the story spent 8 seasons disqualifying everyone else for wanting it too badly. Daenerys wanted it and burned a city to get it. Jon had the better claim and walked away from it on principle. Tyrion wanted to be near it and kept failing every time he got close. Bran is the only person left who never had to want it loudly enough to be punished for wanting it. The idea of Bran works. The execution doesn't. Because Tyrion's actual nomination speech was never an argument for Bran being a good king. It was an argument for Bran being a safe one, the only candidate left who couldn't be accused of wanting this. After 8 seasons of charisma getting people killed, maybe that was the entire point. Not finding the best ruler. Finding the one person nobody had to be afraid of. Which means the ending was never really a verdict on Bran at all. It was a verdict on everyone else. Proof that in this universe, the moment you want power enough to take it, you've already disqualified yourself from deserving it. So here's your assignment before the next episode. If wanting power is what disqualifies you from deserving it, what does that mean for someone who wanted it more openly and for longer than almost anyone else in Westerosi history? Daenerys Targaryen is next on the docket. She didn't stumble into the throne the way Bran did. She crossed an ocean, built an army out of nothing, and never once pretended she didn't want it. So the question we're putting on trial next time is simple. Did that honesty about wanting power make her dangerous? Or did everyone around her only decide it did the moment she stopped being useful to them? That's the next case. Subscribe so you're here when we open it.